You were very flashy at the HVAC Tactical Awards. What are you going to wear next year?
Oh man, yeah, I've
You
been
got to
looking into
top
that.
that one.
I know.
Are you trying to outdo Ben?
Oh no, never. That's Ben's show, right?
Because Ben always has the flashy suit as well.
Oh yeah, no,
Like he
he's
had
he's
a.
Mr. James Bond. Yeah,
That's one of the main reasons I go out there is just to talk to everybody and have a good time.
yeah. No, the community aspect's been awesome, uh, and then for me too, especially over the years as we've been refining what we're doing now. That's where a lot of my feedback from is all the people and friends I've made in the
Yeah.
HVAC tech community. Our promise from our side is to be as helpful as we can, and being in support of you guys. Right, that's our overall mindset is, well, we make the gear, but we're here to support you guys as the contractors, because without you guys, none of this happens. I really like that there's room here to do some cool stuff, and that's what really drives me.
Hola, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Reliable Trades podcast. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and you like this video. And if you're listening to this on the audio over on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or any other platform, please leave a review. That's all free and it helps support the show and helps it get out to more people. And of course, I'm your host, Adrian Garcia. I am an HVAC technician, licensed contractor here in Texas, and I've been doing this about 18 years. And we just have a lot of good conversations with good people in different trades now, whether it's HVAC, plumbing, electrical. I've had some others in like auto mechanics, anything like that. You bring them on, have a good conversation, and hopefully get more trade awareness out there. So I appreciate everybody who's watched or listened, all the support and making this podcast successful and what it is now. I also want to thank the sponsors of the show, like Jobber, which is a CRM that we use to run our business, which is invoicing, quoting, scheduling jobs, maintenance contracts, and all our technicians on our team usually pick it up relatively quickly. I just have to show them what it is and they are able to get out there and start, invoicing. It's been great running our business with Jobber now. And if you guys want a free trial and discount, make sure to check the link down below, getjobber.com/reliable HVACR. I also want to thank Vito Pro Pack, the best quality bags that money can buy, literally. If you invest in these bags, as I did, during the whole pandemic, I ripped so many backpacks and tool pouches that I finally, I found Vito. I think there were some YouTube videos. So check out Vito Pro Pack at your supply house or go to vitopropack.com to learn more. And the podcast is also brought to you by Local. Local HQ is a marketing that is geared towards the trades, and they can help you with your HVAC digital marketing so that you can dominate your local service areas with proven strategies that get your business more leads. They can help you rank higher on Google and all that you would need. So reach out to them at localhq.com/reliable and mention me or the Reliable Trades podcast and get 2 months of SEO for free. What is up, Devin? How are you?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How's the weather over there?
It's hot, man. It's been 112, 113 almost this past week, so we are settling into summertime.
That's pretty brutal. We're in the 90s, and I always tell people that is actually like a relief, versus the triple digits. I think one time it got over like 118 here, and I was like, "Ugh," like that's the worst.
Yeah, yeah. They always joke here, it's a dry heat, but my comeback is always, well, so is an oven. And
Oh
so,
yeah, yeah. No, the triple digits is triple digits. Once you get over 100, 110, you're not getting away from it. And you being over there in the desert, I mean, it's not a picnic every day,
oh yeah, yeah. And
but
our best
it's
time of year
nice.
is our winter, which is just a light spring.
Hey, I always saw like Ash doing the weather updates and stuff like that because Phoenix
Yeah,
or Arizona, and I was like,
hmm
oh, that's not too bad, but it's just hot. Like that. There's no other way around it. It's hot. Whether it's a dry heat, a humid heat, because we get the humidity down here, but we get a break. Like right now, it's raining, so I'm like, okay, it's not as bad. Like I said, 90, I'll take it over the
right.
dead of summer, right in the middle, running all these calls and having to deal with the sun and the heat. So, I mean,
Uh,
you'll get what you can take.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, we make do. Everyone's got
Uh,
a pool, good AC. So
we're gonna get into all that stuff. I'm very curious on some of that new stuff that you guys have coming out. But can you give us a quick intro as to like who you are and what you do?
yeah, so I'm basically Devin Cooley. I'm the president and COO of NVIRIQ, and we are an air conditioning technology company. So we manufacture commercial air conditioning equipment that features our solar thermal renewable platform as a cohesive suite that gives you the best of technology, data, and renewable energy for savings.
NVIRIQ. I didn't know how to say that. Thank you for clearing that up. um, Devin Cooley, like I feel like you were just made for the HVAC trade with that last name, man. Like how perfect is that?
I know, right? It just kind of works out that way, man.
Have you always been in the trades, or like what did you do before this?
So I've pretty much done this since college. Got out of college and that first year dabbling around some stuff. I went to college up in Seattle, and after that first year so I graduated in 2010. So job market was rough back then, and my dad lived down here in Phoenix, and we kind of just fell into this. He had a buddy that was a GC that was dabbling in some kind of renewable AC products, and so uh, not having not much to do back in Seattle, I was like, need some help. He's like, come on down, man. I'd love to have you, help me with this idea and venture. And so we
Oh,
started dabbling in this whole renewable AC kind of space because
so
it was very small.
you've been at it for a while now. Like in
Oh
this
yeah, since
particular
2000.
like part of it, like the renewable cooling and all this new technology.
Yeah, yeah, since 2011, man. It's been my life for 14 years.
That's crazy. So you guys were SunTrack previously, right?
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
guys were doing the renewable part, right? And now it's more like the whole system.
So we started off as just an accessory, and so it was just the thermal collector itself, which would tie it into the refrigeration loop of the AC system on the hot gas discharge side, would act as kind of a solar or a compressor booster using the sun's energy. And so that worked as an accessory. And so we were doing that. We were doing residential and commercial, and kind of trying to find our lane. Where do we best have our impact? Where do we live? And so we were dabbling with that since 2011, and we put it on all the major brands, different types of systems, package split, mini split, larger, commercial size systems, and we're having success with it. Except for it was kind of a pain in the butt to do. Right, you were trying to convince a customer, and the best analogy I use is you want them to buy a new Mustang, and they're going to bring it to our speed shop, and we're going to
Oh
put a
yeah.
turbo, right? And what sounds cool and makes sense to people like us are more like gearheads of like, I'll try that. That sounds cool. But as far as an overall market, that was hard for people to swallow. They're like, well, what does the OEM think? So we had a third party warranty we later over it. Well, how about the install time? So we made it as simple as possible, but still took 8 to 10 man hours. And so while it all was all feasible and it worked, it was just a bit cumbersome. It made it kind of a harder sell. And so after 10 years of being wildly mediocre and getting traction with a product that worked and did what it's supposed to do, we were saving people on average 40% on their cooling costs with
Dang.
this accessory bolted on, right? And it penciled and it worked, but it was just the adoption rate was just hard to get done. And so after about 10, so it was, about 2 years ago, uh, my dad and I are 50-50 in this business. And so we were talking one day of like, we can keep down this road and bashing our head against the wall. But how else would we do this? How else, if we were going to sit back and kind of etch a sketch and start over, what would we do? Knowing what we know now and seeing what was possible and what worked and what didn't, especially, uh, what would we do differently? And so we sat down with the team. And we were like, okay, what market would we be in? Would it be residential, commercial? And so based on the numbers we'd seen and the impact we could have, we decided that commercial was the better bet because of our portion of the solar collector has to be on the roof for us to face
Hmm.
south. And so it's easier on the roof. Residentially, that's more of a challenge, right? Not all the roofs face the way you want to. You can pitch it up funny, but then it looks weird for the customer. And we highly recommend it against that because of visual, et cetera. And so commercial seemed to make the most sense. They use the most cooling. They use it all day, whereas residential, not as much. COVID kind of changed that a little bit. But commercial, that's the time of day they're using it is when our product works the best. And so we focused in on, okay, commercials are lame. What would the box look like? And so instead of trying to be playing defense on every time the big boys put out a new version of their product. They
Yeah, I was gonna
move to
say
send.
something new comes out all the time.
So we're playing
Because
catch up every time. Well, how does it
yeah,
work on
because
train?
we got to deal with it as a technician. Like, what did they do now? What did they change now? Yeah.
Exactly. And so we're always playing kind of defense and catch up. And so that was part of our kind of our vision board of what would we like to have control of. And so ultimately it was all of it. Kind of like Apple always talks about end-to-end control.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
well, to make easy to integrate, we don't have installation issues, or there's a sensor move because version B of that same model now they changed, and so they moved it
Hmm.
3 inches right. And so, as you guys well know, it just
Oh
that's
yeah.
always the pain, trying to find out what updates they changed and or what updates they made and didn't alert you guys, right? They didn't put out a bulletin and let hey, by the way, XYZ. And so, kind of going into this, we've lived in the trenches with you guys for the past since 2011, doing this kind of stuff. And so we know a lot of what the woes are. And so one of our big mantras here is that we design with the contractor in mind, because you guys are our biggest evangelists for this in the field. And so we don't want you guys on the roof when it's here when it's 113, but the roof temp is 140, having to
Yeah.
fiddle with something, a pain in the
Yeah.
butt.
Because
We got to reach.
people always talk about the attic. I'm like, yeah, the roofs, especially the white roofs, like it gets up there too.
Yeah, just like the snow, right? You can get sunburned from the reflection on it. Get burned under here.
Well, I know nothing about snow, but yeah.
Yeah, being in Seattle, I had a little bit of that. But yeah, and so that was always our big push of okay, whenever an idea or we're going to install or design something in, we got to play the tape to the end. Like, okay, it works. Works in the lab is a term that I told our guys I never want to hear.
Oh my god,
So
dude! I just had this conversation because I'm dealing with some new equipment on the commercial refrigeration side, right? Like, I, so many components have been failing, and I'm like, it probably did really good in a lab, in a perfect environment, right? So it's always like, how does it react in the field?
yeah, with a technician working on it live in its environment, how does that going to happen? I had that happen once with just the solar collector itself. I was fiddling with one of the components in the field on a roof. Right, it's
Hmm.
hot, and my hands inside of it. It's the pipe is hot itself, melting my gloves, and I can't get a bolt or a screw to work. I called the shop and I talked to one of our head engineer guy, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm having an issue in this, and what am I missing?" So he walks me through it. I go, "Okay, I'm trying that. It's not. I'm having trouble with it. It's not working." And he said that to me. This was early on. I was like, "Well, it works here in the shop." And I paused, and I'm like, while I appreciate that, I'm the one doing it now in the field, and so are our customers and contractors. This isn't a fix. And so he goes, I will get back to you. So we resolved that issue and made it much simpler. And
Oh,
so
that's
with that,
awesome. That's awesome to hear, dude. Like, I
it's like
love when the manufacturers take that into account because I always tell people it's a lot more frustrating when you're at the end of
oh,
the day sweating, hot
mhm.
roof, hot attic, whatever it is. Like, you don't want these little nuance, like little
Yeah,
issues to, and like you said, just it could be like a screw, it could be like something so tiny, and it just ruins your whole day. I also want to thank Diversitech. They simplify your work. They have everything a contractor needs to complete a job. That goes from equipment mounting, condensate, management, tools, maintenance chemicals, electrical components, indoor air quality, and much more. They have different branches under the same umbrella. More than likely, you're already using some of their products or tools. So go check out diversitech.com, and it's your one stop shop for everything HVAC.
all right. You're trying to get a system either up and or buttoned up so you can leave, and you're just
Mm-hmm.
like, God damn it! Like this last little piece of it, just and if they would just listen, right? And that's one of the
Oh
big
yeah.
things that we feel is a major strength for us is, and we are saying here is that we're not the Navy, we're the pirates. And so
There you
for
go.
like one of the big ones like a carrier or train because they make you know half a million, a million piece units a year, to change one screw has a giant ripple effect. And so
Mm-hmm.
understandable why they don't. But that's our advantage is we're not that big. We're not the big behemoth, and we're here, being in the trenches with you guys of like, what would you guys like to see and what would you like to have happen and be different. And even on the collector side, we were doing that for years. We get feedback from the guys in the field like, hey, it'd be cool if you included, these couplers or bushings for your installation. No problem, you got it. So we put that in the kit. Hey, that bolt is weird, or we're trying to get underneath. We can't, so we put little pegs instead of holes for screws, so you can set those on and then screw the other ones that are easier to get to. And that's our whole mentality, man. It was just, we want to make it easy, simple. Back to the car analogy, we don't want to put a starter behind the engine and make you have to drop the engine to get to, a simple,
Yeah.
inexpensive part. Now it takes 6 hours to get to where it should take 30 minutes.
Yeah, you hear that so much. Like, I got to disassemble this whole thing just to check a capacitor, just to check this. And
You
then,
know,
like, if
hundred
that's
other
not the
parts.
problem, yeah, then if that's not the problem, you got to put it all back together and look for another, issue in the system. Heard it so many times. And it's like, sometimes it is, because I talk to, my guys and some other guys, like, sometimes it is better just to disassemble the whole thing, but like you don't always like I'm still stubborn that I'm trying to do it, without making more work for myself. Like
Right.
more panels, more screws. Like if it's
Mhm.
easier to get to, that's always a big plus. And right now we're seeing a lot of new equipment. It's a new year. A2Ls are everything now. And now I've heard complaints on how each manufacturer does the sensors different. Each manufacturer wants to do a different refrigerant. Like there's always an issue, and it's
Yeah.
it's just a technician that struggles with it.
Mhm. And you guys are stuck on tech support, waiting for an answer for hours. Like again, you're on the roof or in the attic, and it's just
Oh,
not conducive to business,
yeah,
man.
yeah, and sometimes I just need answers, right? So if you guys
Yeah.
have that kind of tech support where you can get answers, like you said, feedback is one thing, but also just to give information and answers to somebody out in the field because I've had, like, I work on ice machines. They are notorious for calling me back the next day. I was like, I already spent my whole day struggling and I figured it out. Like, I don't need a
Mhm.
call back the next day. I'm always impressed because I just had one recently where they actually answer within a few seconds, like a minute wait or something. I'm like, holy crap, I've never seen this before. So that's when I'm impressed when they actually answer the phone.
Yeah, it's not a robot to go through 10 layers to get to.
AI is into everything now. I'm trying
It,
to
it's, it,
incorporate it into my business just to alleviate certain aspects of it, but uh, I will say it's better than the automation systems because I have those whenever you call
yeah.
to try to make a
Mhm.
payment or try to get a customer service and it's like automated and I'm like, well, none of those options are what I need. Can I talk to a real person? Or it's like, sorry, I didn't get that. Sorry, I didn't get that. It's so annoying.
You're just shouting representative, representative.
I know. You're
Yeah,
just like yelling into your phone. It's like, oh, that gets me every time.
yeah.
So, what does NVIRIQ stand for?
So we were set out by our IP attorney to to create our own word, if you will, a pseudo word. That kind of his best example was pharmaceutical commercials where in
Oh, okay.
truly. Okay,
Yeah.
so it sounds like a word, but it means nothing, and they can trademark it. And so we set out about trying to do that with taking parts of words. And after literally like 20 or 30 iterations and him telling us no, we came up with NVIRIQ, which we kind of broke up into three sections. Was the N kind of stood for integrative, integrated, and innovative. The VIR is that's green in Latin, and so because
Mm.
part of what we do is be the green, sustainable, renewable energy aspect of it, and then the IQ came around for intelligent cooling. And so again, we were just throwing mud against the wall and trying to find pieces of things we could try to put together to make it sound like a word.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and so that's how we
Well,
kind of came up with that. Was
yeah, I'm not a graphic designer like whatsoever, but I've always been into like sketching, logo making. I do that for my business. I do that for like my social media stuff. I'm just curious because that always piques my interest, like how they came up with a certain logo, a certain name, and there's always a meaning behind it. So I just had to ask.
yeah, yeah. And so I tried to keep it uh, like you mentioned before with SunTrack. We transitioned to this because we were transitioning away from just the accessory being just the thermal collector, which was what tracks the sun with the mirrors inside the box. We felt that it no longer represented what we were doing as a whole. And that was the name of the accessory. And so going to this next phase, as we decided, let's change the name because we're changing what we're doing. And but with the logo itself, I tried to keep a similar kind of font type, so
Hmm.
keep your kind of match somewhat of the Sun Track. We kept the same R, where it has a little notch missing inside
Oh
of it.
yeah.
And then I upgraded the gear to be a little less busy. And so That's kind of where we got into today. We're still doing some more massaging now, but
Yeah, it's always how you like evolve, right? Even the
yeah,
big companies and corporations are all reverting back to their retro, super simple logos, right? Like,
what's
and I
old?
love it. I love seeing it. Sometimes
Hmm.
too busy is not good,
Yeah,
and that's what I always tell people because I do that for my business, and my dad started our business right as what he does. He does hot food, and he's like, I got a name, but I don't know like what else to do with it, right? So having to work reliable kitchen because like some people were like, "Do you guys do cabinets? Do you guys do remodels?"
uh,
I'm like, "No." I was like, "We fix kitchens, right?" And
right, right.
oh man, the design behind that took me a while to figure out because you just have to try something, see what sticks, evolve, all that kind of stuff. And I always tell people like anything on a van, anything on a business card, anything anywhere that you put your logo, like it has to be easy to read or easy to see the name, right? And easy
Yeah.
to understand what you guys do because that's your identity. They see it once, a passing car, they need to know what it was.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
that's,
and that's
that's
what
how
we
you
try to
stand
do
out.
in our name, because while we are solar, in nature, it's solar thermal. We are in air conditioning technology, and when people hear solar, they immediately think traditional solar electric. Like that's not
Yeah.
what we do. Our collector is heat, right? We're tracking the sun. We're collecting heat. In
That's what
order
I was going to
to
ask you next is like how does this differ from like traditional solar?
Yeah, so our collector, it's called a thermal collector, and think more, I guess, more like hot water, or it's a box on your roof. But we're a combination of static solar thermal and the concentrating solar power, which those giant half barrels that are mirrors that track the sun. You're seeing kind of those stuff they have out in the big in the desert, where they're taking sunlight, they're taking that energy as a heat and using it in their method. And so what's different about us is we're not solar electric creates electricity for the system to use or the building to use. Uh, we're integrated into the refrigeration cycle of the air conditioner, and so easiest example is like a two-stage compressor. We're off the compressor, piped into the collector, and the mirrors track the sun throughout the day, and so they're
Mm.
gaining temperature, and the refrigerant from the system is flowing through us. We're an extension, we're in a loop in line with the refrigeration cycle.
Oh, I completely misunderstood what you guys did then. So you guys are
Yeah.
in the actual loop.
Yep. We're piped in off the hot gas discharge.
Okay.
Copper flows to us, and refrigerant. We're always in line. So it comes off the compressor, goes through the thermal collector, and then back in the system. Then it goes into the condenser.
Okay.
So while that may sound counterintuitive, people always try to
Yeah.
say, "Well, you're adding heat and pressure. That you're making the condenser work harder." I'm like, if the system were at max, that would be true. But also, we have temperature sensors, so the mirrors will turn away when we hit a certain temperature, max we're looking
Okay.
for whatever it is of the air conditioner. And so, usually the two-stage example is the simplest. If the compressor wasn't second stage, right, you're full tilt and you're going out max, it would flow through us. The sensors would see the temperatures where we need it to be, and they would turn away from the sun, much like a magnifying glass when you're burning a leaf. As soon as you back off, the focal drops off. You're no longer putting in that intense energy. Same here. But so what happens is we allow the compressor to back down into first stage, and
Hmm.
then now flowing through us, we're doing that final lift of the second stage to the temperature and pressure the system needs and is looking for at the condenser level. So if you were just doing your gauges, you were seeing temps and pressures across the system. It would look like the system's in second stage with the thermal
Okay.
collector in. And so,
That's
but now
neat.
you're first stage amp draw, so you're getting second stage cooling and first stage power pull. And so now extrapolate that further on a variable speed. Now the system can really ramp down to 20 or 30%. It's actually more like a pump with the initial compression cycle, and then we're doing the rest of that lift with the sun, raising temp and pressure to 100% of operating. And now that's where the real energy savings comes into play.
Still trying to process all that. I never knew that could be a thing. Actually.
Yeah. So
So like,
your analogy, think of two compressors in tandem,
yeah.
right? Like single stage compressors. Take away one and put us there instead.
Mm.
Same effect. Compressor one does part of the lift. I mean, that system needs more compression, more cooling and flow. It'll kick on the second compressor to do the second stage essentially. That's what the collector's doing. It
Does
works that way.
that uh accessory, what do you call that? Uh
The thermal
that out
collector,
the what?
the thermal collector.
The thermal collector. Does that ever valve off or is that always constant flow?
It's generally constant flow, but because we are also a heat pump, the system itself, we do have
Yeah,
a
that's where I think it makes more sense to me, heat
so
pump wise.
yeah, but yeah. So and usually that's what people tend to lean on. That makes more sense. But the only time we do valve it out is during heat pump operation at night, because then all of a sudden now the thermal collector is now radiating the heat out of the system,
Yeah.
right? When we're trying to put it inside at night. So during the day we also have boost there. Uh, but that's always the big part that people have trouble with is how are you adding temperature and pressure to the system that's trying to reject it, right? That's usually the first
Yeah.
thought or question. But that's a way I want to push back and I'm like, well, but what is the compressor doing? It's trying to raise temperature and pressure so
Yes.
that you can get that delta outside, but the gas is hotter than ambient, so that it'll condense. Well, if the compressor starts to back down and it's starting, and we can do that with the collector, where push it back up to where it needed to be at 100% output. That's where the magic happens.
That's where just you being in the like as a technician, if you want to understand that, just being out in the field, understand that part of it, because there's so many little things here and there that you can see that happening. Like we have, I mean, this is totally different, but like fan cycle controls, right? Sometimes we need to shut off, like on ice machines, we need to shut off the fan because we don't want that pressure or temperature to come too low. You need to generate the heat somehow. So that
Yeah.
fan comes off, right? Fan cycle control, that's what that's for. And that's genuinely for like real low temp stuff like ice machines. But I mean, you see it in a lot of places because even in places that have low ambient temperatures, like they fabricate higher pressure somehow. So I mean, no matter what, you need that high temperature, high pressure outside coming in to flash inside and give you that cooling. I mean, that's just the way it works. I just never thought of boosting it that way. It just kind of reminds me because like we do kitchen work, like
Mhm.
boosters that you have in certain heating applications, but this is for cooling and heating. So
Mhm.
interesting technology there.
Yeah, it's
I,
kind of like
I've
a mix.
never I've never seen it. So like, how did you guys get into this? Like, is this something you guys played around with, or has it been around? Or are there other companies that do this?
There's some other companies doing things like it when we were dabbling back in the day. And the easiest commercial example is Yazaki chillers. Right?
Okay,
They're doing absorption
but
heat.
like that's at a higher level, then, right? You're trying to hit the light commercial
Right.
area.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing that we were able to do with the collector being kind of more compact as it is. 'Cause it's 4 foot by 8 foot. Kind of takes that larger scale industrial size equipment, kind of brings it down to bite size where you can put it on a 5 ton. Whereas a lot of that stuff starts at 25 tons and up because of the
Yeah, I was
industrial
like,
need doing.
that's way over my head.
Yeah. Well, and for us too, that's a niche within a niche. And so we were like, okay,
Yeah,
again, talking about what kind of market are we trying to hit, and it's to serve the light commercial market where there's not as much cool, innovative technology there that we can really have a nice impact to help bring down costs for customers. They get more transparency into the system because of all of our IoT, cloud performance dashboard, and they just get nice high end equipment that does what it's supposed to do. For those guys, that's really critical, like restaurants and kitchens like that, same kind of thing, right? Where an ice machine goes down in a restaurant, that's a big problem because they need that for their drinks. And I know that emergency ice is not cheap for them getting that delivered every day.
no. And
Yeah.
like lately, because we've hired some people, like I have to just kind of get them up to par on like the common nuance calls, common issues that we see, and the AC affects because like you bring up commercial how heavily they rely on this stuff, right? Like I deal with restaurants, right? So if an AC is not working properly, customers leave for them. Like nobody wants to eat in a hot restaurant, right?
Yeah.
Um, Store is a little bit different if it's the kitchen. I feel bad. Sometimes they'll make the workers sweat it out over the weekend till we can get there. But if it's like the main eating area, it's like emergency now.
Oh yeah.
Um, And the other thing is like that AC affects what I do as far as like refrigeration. So a lot of these
Right.
coolers are open coolers, and they're like, oh, it's not working and this and that, or like certain like some places have everything inside, like all the walk-in boxes, all the condensers, everything, and they're like, oh, it's just not keeping temp. And I get there and I'm like, well, it's your AC, it's not your refrigeration equipment, right? Like make sure your
Yes.
AC is up to par, working and everything. And that's why I try to come in with maintenance, and all that kind of stuff that we should be doing, so that we don't get these calls on the weekend. But
Yeah.
that's a whole other story there. But yeah, like the AC is the most important part, and like they say, they don't make them like they used to, and it's cool to see a new player in the game. Essentially, right? You're trying to make a splash, and I like that. Be loud, be different, and try and change the space. I also want to thank our new sponsors, CallRail. So I've been more into marketing and just online presence with our business, even though we only do commercial. Word of mouth is really good for any business. But once you get to a place where you want to be, a big name online or just anywhere, be recognizable, like I said, online presence, have a nice website, be able to be searchable in Google and all these different search engines, and just have a big presence. You need to know where to spend your money, and all I'm going to say is that CallRail can help you track that if that's something that you're interested in. CallRail can tell you, hey, these are not working so much, these are working really good, stop spending your money here, put more money and effort into this, and just be smarter about what you spend. So make sure you go by callrail.com. They do have a no risk free trial, and you can check it out for yourself. I also want to thank another new sponsor, Residio. Basically, they help with a sustainable home, and they make it a safer, cleaner, and smarter home. They have so many things that work together. They were showing me the new thermostats that they have going on, how it's implemented together, and all these different little, smart devices that connect and talk to each other. So if you want to learn more, head over to residio.com and check it out for yourself. So you guys have this here, and this is your offering right now, 5, 10, and 15?
Yeah. And so actually, I need to update the website, talk to my team here. But the
Oh, sorry.
15 ton, we're gonna back burner the 15 probably till like mid next year. We're gonna bring around a 5/6 ton split system first to kind of
Oh,
round out
okay.
the smaller end of the package. First, we'll have five. It's a 5/6 ton RTU split, and then the 10 ton is RTU.
And these are, I mean, I don't know what you were going to say right now, but these are your own AC units. So you guys are building them out, designing them, and it's all
Yep.
your stuff.
Yeah, we designed them from the ground up, and so we selected the compressors, the fans, the controls, all the electronics suite in there.
Oh
Um,
yeah, because I saw you working on one recently, and it was
yeah,
like, I mean, it looked pretty cool. There's a lot of technology in there. So how do you guys go about like designing your own equipment? Like, is it hard to outsource this stuff and get, components and kind of build it up?
yeah, it's kind of a. I always go back to the car analogy because it seems to be the easiest, and it's what makes sense to me. Is it's kind of like the car industry where they have the major players, and there's very few small boutique manufacturers for cars, and it's because of the nature of just all the regulations and the size and scope of what they're doing. We found this similar in the air conditioning side as well, and so there's aren't a bunch of engineers lying around just waiting to go
Yeah.
find somewhere, and so. But we set out to do that about a year and a half ago. So okay, we want to build our own box. Now what? And so we've been in the industry now since 2011. So we made a lot of friends along the way. And so we started making calls of like, hey, who do you know, or what companies or what consulting agencies can you help us? You can get us where we're going. And so we started collecting the team. And so we brought on an engineer that had 20 plus years experience in the commercial AC market. We've got another good buddy of ours that's been in the trades for 35 years as a contractor technician, but is also on the technology kind of electronic side. So he's been helpful, kind of making sure we're being conscientious of the technician when we go to in certain places. Does this make sense? They go, well, I prefer it here because of I worked on one XYZ, right? So all the war stories, like perfect. Let's keep lining those out and keep those front of mind. And then our director of IT, he's been in the IT world for 25 plus years, so getting him schooled up on the control side has been fun. He's come quite a long way, and he's super stoked about this new kind of facet that he's been plugged into. But we went about just kind of finding, okay, who do we need in what areas? So engineering for the whole structure itself. We need electronics controls. We need um, the refrigeration cycle itself to make sure because of what we do with the thermal side. So how do we make that integration easy? Then we also went to Intertech, who's the one certifying uh, our air conditioners, and they actually have a consulting division, which is fascinating because UL doesn't do that. And imagine like the IRS, if the IRS had a CPA division where, hey, the areas go, hi, you've retired IRS agents. Now we need the CPA. Like, can you help me prepare my taxes before I give them the IRS so I don't get hosed here? And they go, for sure.
Yeah.
So Intertech has some of that. So we've got a couple of great guys from their division on our team to do design. One of the guys, Roger, he did 20 plus years with Carrier and 20 plus years with Train. So he's in his 70s, so he's seen it all. And so he's kind of our chief engineer consultant for that, as well as on the other side there that helps us with the regulatory, making sure all of our stuff's it's UL, so you're doing it properly, making sure everything's high and tight for safety and certification. So it's been an interesting journey, man. You kind of figure out,
Yeah.
you don't know what you don't know, so you got to find the right people that do.
Oh yeah,
And,
that's always the hard part is, because that's a big thing to make your own AC equipment. Like and that's also a big leap from making an accessory to a whole system.
yeah, man,
And you need to seek out like the right team, and it sounds like you do.
yeah, yeah, we definitely 2 years ago, uh, you know, burned the boats and went inland. I'm like, this is where we're at. We dubbed our campaign internally as Team Rubicon because we've crossed the Rubicon. We're point of no return. We're making this shift, and this has got to work. And so
Yeah.
that and, back to our kind of our pirate theme. We're like, we see our vision. We know what's possible. We know the accessory works really well. And now with this overall kind of fully built solution, we know this will do what we want it to do and have the impact that we know it can. And that's what keeps driving us. Like, okay, we had a road bump here or an issue there. We're like, dang, okay, well, what else do we need? Who else do we need? And so we just keep charging forward and leaning on all the contacts and friends we've made over the past 14 years. Um, and just keep getting feedback and input from everyone we can because at the end of the day, that's our greatest resource is the community. So
And what refrigerant are you guys going with?
R32.
Pretty happy to hear that. Any reason?
A couple because we're focused on variable speed. The 454B guys hadn't gotten their act together a year and a half ago for that to be viable yet.
No, they still haven't. In
Yeah,
other aspects.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the great government agencies making mandates and then making the
Yep.
market respond slowly.
Yep.
So yeah, that's kind of our biggest things. We're long friends with a couple of guys at Daikin. And so, again, talking to our friends and resources, like, hey, if we're into this, what would you recommend? So getting input from people in the industries will kind of let us down our path to get these certain kind of choices. And part of it
Yeah.
was what's available for what we want. So we want the variable speed stuff. Well, then, okay, R32 had positives from input we'd gotten from others. And then that had the best available options that we wanted out of the compressor side. So we're like, okay, R32 it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's a whole transition year, so there's a lot of pains, right?
Yeah.
But
Oh, no, the shortages have been happening. It's been wild.
yeah, I told guys I can't even get 454 honestly. Like if I tried, it's not available here. But I can go pick up R32 at any point and it's readily available. It's also I just feel like cuz we just had this discussion on one of my other shows, but I know it's been R32 has been around longer, right? Like it's
Yeah.
in 410. It's just in a different. It's in its own form now. But as far as like testing goes, I've heard 454 has more issues with separation. Maybe from sitting there. Well, I talked to Ty Brenneman. He had all his information ready for us when we asked him. Uh, and I've had guys that deal with compressors going out because of, or not because, I don't want to say it's because of the refrigerant, but it happens to have 454 in it. So as a business owner, doing my own thing, I've decided I'm going to try and stick to R32 myself. I don't see the need to go pay $1,000 a drum if I can find one. So
Dude, yeah,
it's
they're
just
selling it like it's drugs now. Yeah, and they're the highest bidder,
it costs more than R22 right now,
which is wild.
and it's like I can go get R22 a decent like $800 or something, and 454 I got to pay like $1,100. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a money grab, but that's
yeah,
COVID for you, man. Like we
yeah.
had I remember talking about this. We had like $85 tanks before. Like we could go pick up R410A for like 80 to $100.
Oh yeah,
Price went up, price never came back down. I guess just what it is, right? Everybody gets used to it. And it's
hmm
like, well, we're making money here, so let's just keep it up here.
yeah. Everyone got used to it, like gas, right? That shot up like $3 or $4. Like, oh my gosh, and then it'll come back down to sub two.
Yeah,
Never.
I was like, man, it used to be like $1 something over here.
Yeah, when I
Cause I
started
live,
driving, $100.
like I live in an area like right now it's like 250, so it's not bad. Like I don't live in California or any place that does like $7 gas. I've heard some wild
Yeah,
numbers. I just wouldn't drive if I lived over there, honestly. Um, just have a scooter the whole for everything.
right.
Um, yeah, but I was like, no, it doesn't get that bad here. But like, considering what it used to be, I was like, yeah, it
Yeah,
used to be like $1 something. Like when I was growing up, driving, college, all that.
yeah.
But
What's
inflation.
interesting, if you look at the price of gas per gallon and the price of milk per gallon, it generally tracks together.
Oh wow, yeah, I never thought about
Massive.
that.
Yeah. So look back then,
Or
yeah, it's less than $1. So was a gallon of milk.
just don't compare it to the price of eggs because that's always up and down.
Yeah, dude,
It's
that's
like
been wild.
how much does my breakfast cost right now?
Yeah, even here, there was a big issue with like in the past week or two. Some bird flu issue or whatever, and they had to kill
Again,
a
dang,
massive percentage of birds here of the chickens laying
it's
eggs.
all yeah, it's always something. It's like
Yeah.
oh
So
another
supply and
flu,
demand.
another yeah. So okay, so this is you're going into commercial. So did you mention you're going to do split systems? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, we're gonna do one split. Yeah, it's a 5/6 ton split.
Okay, because we see those. Like I deal with commercial, so we see some places that need to do split systems, but it's like a big, like you said, like a 5 ton. And I don't like working on them, but they're there, they're out there.
What about them that you like?
Oh, it's because it's usually in a strip mall and it's in a drop ceiling. I don't like getting into drop ceilings to work on these things.
Yeah,
I don't understand. Like, I mean, honestly, if there's as long as the unit is easily accessible, I mean, that's just something that you guys probably have to or you keep in mind, right? Like like you said, you go out there, you don't like the way a screw
mhm,
is, and you guys make that change. For me, it's like in a drop ceiling, like I have to get on a high ladder, right, to get on it, and it's like they build around it, so that's always the tricky part. It's like they run
yeah,
pipes, they run, and now everything's like places have like all these because I work at like fast food places, so everything's digital now, right? They have all this
yeah,
communication wire, all these Ethernet cables, everything in a drop ceiling. And like you move a tile, and sometimes I can't even move a tile because there's so many wires sitting on it. So once I do get up there, like I would like it to just be easy to take off a panel, easy to change out a blower motor, whatever it is. So, but that's complaints I've heard in general because, like I told you, I know some companies when they do their split systems, you got to disassemble like the whole motor just to get to the capacitor. Um, maybe wherever the capacitor is mounted, I think if you don't go with the same brand, like it won't fit. Like there's little stupid little things, right? Like um, something that should be easy to check becomes a hassle. And I
You
think
take
that's
a
the
little note.
most. I was gonna say that's probably the most that I've heard on split systems, and I've dealt with a couple. Is always accessing like the blower motor and the capacitor to it. Those are, I think, one of the most worked on or changed out parts on like a split system.
Perfect.
And I deal with it too because I have another one that's not even in a drop ceiling. It's in a closet, but they built a walk-in box right in front of it. So you got to disassemble the doors just to get in there, right? We
Yeah.
take them off the hinge and take them out.
Hmm.
We replaced one because there was two side by side in the closet. We replaced one. It was such a pain. Like the hardest part was like removing and putting in the new one. Like cause brazing and charging it up, wire, all that was like simple. It was like
Hmm.
getting it in and out. So a lot of it's like on the building people themselves,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. How
dealing
they
like
fit.
they don't give us space. That's usually the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if they put it in and then build around it. That's always a pain. Even homes do the same thing. I'm like, how did you get this in here? Like, oh, well, it was already in here. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, and then there's no way to
this
get
fit.
it out.
Yeah, gotta cut a bigger hole. Sweet.
Yeah, man. You were very flashy at the HVAC Tactical Awards. What are you gonna wear next year?
Oh man, yeah, I've
You
been
got to
looking into
top
that.
that one.
I know. I gotta find another suit. Um, yeah, I'll talk with the marketing team and see. Okay, what do we want to do around that? Maybe make it a different color. But yeah, that was fun, man. That was a good time. Ben
Are
puts
you
on a
trying
good
to
show.
out? Are you trying to outdo Ben?
Oh no, never. That's Ben's show.
Because Ben always has the flashy suit as well.
Oh yeah, no,
Like he had
he's
a
Mr. James Bond. Yeah.
yeah, man. I can't wait to go to the next one. It's gonna be in Vegas. I well, the first in person one was in Vegas, so it'll be a full circle moment.
Yep.
I missed that one. I think you were at it, right?
Yeah, it was a bar sponsor at that one too. I think I've been a bar sponsor for the past four. But, yeah.
Yeah, sponsors, Soundtrack sponsored, and I was supposed to be there, and my flight got pushed back and delayed, and a whole mess. But I'll make it this time, and it's always a good time to catch up with people in the industry. And I mean, it's a cool community, and it doesn't matter like what part of the trade you're in. Like you guys on the manufacturing side, like it's
Mhm.
just cool to see everybody and talk to everybody, and see what's what's new, what's going on.
Yeah. No, he's done a great job building that community. I remember I've known Ben for I don't know 8 9 years, and yeah, I remember him telling me about it when he was initially getting like the brand, like the just the logo together about what he wanted to do. I'm like, this is super cool, dude, and to
With
see what he's done.
the clothing brand or
Yeah,
the award show?
just the clothing. Yeah, back with the clothing.
Oh yeah, when you started that.
It was just when he was just starting that. And he had a sticker he gave me. I was like, dude, this is badass. He was like, I want to do this and this. And he kind of explained his vision. I'm like, dude, hell yeah, get after it. And it's amazing to see what he and his team have done now with it. It's remarkable.
He,
And it's really cool.
he's just one of those guys that just won't quit. Cause
Yeah.
like who else would have done all that, right? Like I can't picture anybody else. And he wanted to do because I saw him when he first was like posting it. He wanted to do the clothing line, kept pushing, got it out there.
Hmm.
It now everybody like has a piece of that clothing or knows what it is. I've even seen people trying to rip off the logo. I know he gets really upset about that, but it's just cool, right? Like HVAC, we have our own clothing,
Hmm.
to wear to be proud of. And
Yep.
then the award show, I was like, what is this guy up to? Like handing out these little medals and stuff. I was like, what is he trying to do here? And now it's
It's a
like,
TV award. It's fucking awesome.
and now just the event itself is awesome, right? Like, because I got one. It's cool, but like I enjoyed being there more than anything. Just being around people that were like minded, cool to talk to about HVAC. Because around here, everybody's like competition. Nobody wants to talk to each other, so It's better to go out there. That's one of the main reasons I go out there, is just to talk to everybody and have a good time.
The community aspect's been awesome. Um, and then from me too, especially over the years as we've been refining what we're doing now, that's where I get a lot of my feedback from is all the people and friends I've made in
Yeah.
the HVAC tech community. Like, hey man, I'm trying to do this and this. They go, really? They go, well, you thought about this, or I'd like to see that. I'm like, just taking in the notes. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's see what we can do about that, and what kind of solutions we can come up with to make that possible or plausible. And that's one thing we're doing too. With I think I mentioned we have a dashboard, right? So our systems come with its own IoT built into it. So we'll tell you the live EER temps, pressures. So you can see what's happening with the system.
So
And
there's
part of
a there's a interactive screen, or how does it
yeah,
work?
yeah. So as a
Okay.
dashboard, you'll have a login as a contractor. You have all your sites. So if you get 20 buildings that have our stuff on it, you can go in there and see building A. Okay, and go in there. You've got these four tons on there. You can see the live EER temps, pressures. It's got all the energy draw on it. So you can see how the system's doing. And so you can do a lot of predictive maintenance there too. Like, oh, okay, I'm seeing X, Y, and Z, so I need to send out, and then we send out what kind of technician you need. You just need a lower level kind of guy to go swap out. Maybe the filters are dirty, right? Or when you clean the coils, or is there an inherent problem with maybe the fan or the compressor's acting funny? So now you send out a different level tech, and so you can better deploy your own resources, and you know what to bring with you, as opposed to
See,
just hey,
my
the system.
yeah,
Well,
my experience my experience is a little bit different on commercial because I'm used to just seeing error codes, right? It doesn't give me much information. I know it's probably different on higher commercial industrial, but like
yeah,
on this, like on like 5 to 10 ton systems, usually it's just an error code, figure it out.
right,
Like,
yeah.
so you guys,
Here's your 12 sheet troubleshoot for all that one code. You're like, crap, sweet.
dude, you know how many times those things are actually helpful? It's like 1 out of 10. Like, it's usually like, did you check power? Did you? I'm like, and then if I
It's,
call tech
it's
support,
like that.
yeah. If I call tech support and they pull that crap on me, I'm like, I already did all that. Like, tell me what's
Yeah.
wrong with this thing. Because usually it's like something really dumb. But um, so you guys have like a really deep integration information as far as like it can kind of tell you what to look for.
We're working on that part of it, but we have all the raw data.
Okay.
So we're working on having it give you some sort of troubleshooting kind of triggers. Like, hey, it's, and we're going to work on the, have AI at some level built into that to kind of do some of that troubleshooting for you too. That's where we're going with it. So we have all the raw data. So you can see, hey, the system's down or the system's being funny. You can pull it up and you can see all the data coming off of the system. And we're working on getting it to be where it can help troubleshoot for you to some degree. But at least for now, you can see it. Besides just an
Like,
error code, you can see
yeah,
everything, airflow, kind of seeing all the
I was gonna
CFM.
say at least if it tells you, because I am seeing like walk-in coolers and freezers where I can get into and see data. Like, if it gives you any data, like as far as like pressures,
Yep.
static, anything that you can as a technician be like, oh, that's not right.
Mm-hmm.
That's helpful because I'm starting to see that, like I said, on refrigeration, on at least on commercial HVAC equipment, I don't really see it. Even on the newer ones, a lot of people don't like the like trains like I think it's called human interface. Not really helpful. Like, it just tells you a few things, and it has this weird proprietary stuff that has to be integrated and all that. I can't even get to into the thermostats. Like, they're all locked somehow, and I've heard other
Yeah.
guys complain about the same thing, and I was like, okay, it's not just me being dumb. Like, there's no way to get into this without knowing, how, like the password or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
yeah, like as when I get into like, there's been a few newer systems that I like as far as like walk-in boxes. If I go into the thing and it's like user friendly, here's this data, here's that data. That is like pretty much all that I personally need. If you guys go a little bit above and beyond that, I'm sure a lot of technicians will appreciate that. And I mean, that's just what we want. I hate when it's like a blinking light or something whatever, and I'm like googling what the hell does this mean. Like, that, those are the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. We're trying to make it again as simple as possible. Again, keeping you guys in mind, and just making the whole experience as transparent as we can. So it makes it easier on you. You have less trip charges. The customer pays less for all that. You have better uptime. Um, and just, we don't want to be, we want to be the brand where you get in the roof and you go, oh, heck yeah, thank God it's one of these. right? As
Yeah.
opposed to like, oh, it's one of these, whatever model, pick any brand, right? They've all had that one model. You're like, God, I don't want to work on this thing. It's a pain in the butt, right? The capacitor
I
stuck behind, whatever the
I will
issue
try
is.
to I will try to get out of it sometimes, especially if it has to be like a major repair. I'm like, kind of want to turn away this one. I don't want to do it at
Right.
all.
And so we know that, right? We don't want to be that for you guys. And so that's a big push for us is we want to make it like, you're like, yes, I want to work on this. They make it easy. They respond. You can call in and talk to somebody, whatever, all these woes that we've experienced too, because we were the accessory. So we were in the trenches with the installers for all these years trying to get on this stuff. And so, we've been hand in hand with you guys in dealing with a lot of those problems. And so we're endeavoring to try to cover as many of those as we can. And not be that for you guys. And so, and part of the dashboard that we're going to work on at some level is some sort of function where you can give us feedback, whether it's on the dashboard itself, whether it's the equipment, whether it's installations. We want that feedback because that helps us. We don't want to be the black void of the big boys that you'd send in your suggestion card. It just it ends up God knows
Yeah.
where. We actually want to see what we can do about things that are an issue and try to resolve it as best we can.
I think repairability is always like the biggest thing because I think on HVAC it's not as difficult. Like if you guys integrate like your boards or whatever you guys are using for communication. Typically on other brands, I can bypass them just to get them by. Rewire it here and there just to turn on a blower motor, whatever it is that maybe that board doesn't want to output, but everything's working. Like I make sure to tell my guys, like, make sure everything else is working before you bypass things. But I've had boards on other brands that just give out, right? They just stop communicating. Electronics, you're gonna have that issue, or hopefully not have that issue, but it's a thing.
Yeah.
On refrigeration, it's a little bit more difficult because that board is like the brain and the only thing that can communicate with like motors and compressors and valves. So what I'm dealing with right now is like on refrigeration where that board doesn't want to do something. I can't bypass it. There's nothing to bypass. There's nothing to change out because you just feed it, your 208 or whatever voltage it is, and it does everything else. It does its own like, voltage outputs, everything. So on those, I don't typically, or I get upset, or my customers get upset, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do anything about it. So
Yeah.
in general, equipment, as long as there's repairability put into mind,
Mm-hmm.
as far as like, I hate when it's like proprietary stuff, brackets or anything like that. Like, let me help the customer out by being able to get it up and going while I wait for the part to come in. That's always a big one.
Yeah, and some of our stuff is some of that where it's gonna be like it has to be this part for it to do certain functions, but what we're trying to do to fix that is have it be where the parts are readily available, right? So whether we
Okay.
have them nearby, you get them as quick as possible. And so that's what we're very mindful of. Is okay, if certain things are proprietary or it's specific, you have to have this one part. Making sure they're as easily accessible as possible, and not tell you, okay, it's gonna be 2 to 4 days. Because for any kind of commercial customer or any customer really, but especially critical commercial cooling areas, that's not okay. And
No,
so,
I'm used to getting told I have to wait weeks. Like if it's
oh
like something OEM or specific,
yeah,
that's the
no,
worst.
we're looking to make it as fast as possible. Like in the realm of like same day, next day, to make
Okay.
it that way. You're always the hero. Your customer's always taken care of, and we don't want to be the problem or the bottleneck.
Well,
This
honestly,
stuff,
that's more. Yeah, that's more
it's,
reasonable. If it's like I can tell them I can come back in a day or two, like that's always more reasonable than I don't know when
yeah,
it's coming in because I had one waiting like 8 weeks. I had to go in there and start ripping out things and starting to do my own repairs because they're not gonna
yeah,
wait 8 weeks.
yeah. Got a can
And
of
I
worms.
and I
Don't make
told the supply house, you can go ahead and keep it. I already fixed everything. I went ahead and ripped everything apart. So
yeah,
yeah.
and that's what we want to make sure that for our kind of our promise from our side is to be as helpful as we can, and being in support of you guys, right? That's our overall mindset is, well, we make the gear, but we're here to support you guys as the contractors, because without you guys, none of this happens. And so, yes, the customer's experience is highly important, but wrapped, symbiotically with that is you guys and your experience. And so if we can make it easy between us and you guys and you and them and everyone flows together, makes everyone happy and a win-win. And so we definitely
Yeah.
have that top of mind of making sure parts and specific things that are proprietary or necessary for our build is as readily available as possible. We make sure that that's as quick as we can.
If you keep the technician happy, they'll keep recommending your equipment, right? Because we were
Yeah.
just talking about that with the guys that do residential, especially this year with, like I said, the refrigerant split. Like there's two options now. He's
Mhm.
having to go in there and give a quote on, like, we can go with this system. These are the pros and cons, and then we can go with this system, and these are the pros and cons, right?
Right.
Because he can't like just suggest one, because
Yeah.
there's always like a good and bad. So I mean, we're having to get to that point where it's like, what are the pros and cons of your system? Like that's gonna,
Yeah.
kind of be the deal breaker right there.
Yeah. And what cons can you live with? Right.
Yeah. It's just the world we live in today, because changes are happening. We got to deal with it. Technicians are out there being the middleman, basically, right? There's manufacturers doing their thing. Technician has to be the one to kind of break the news, and the customer is the one paying for it. What was that accessory called again?
Oh, the thermal collector.
Thermal collector. I'll get it right by the end of the episode. Thermal collector. Do those have to be maintained? Any maintenance on that?
Yeah, it's low maintenance, right? We wrap it into your normal scheduled visits around the RTU itself. The collector itself, it's under a sheet of glass. It's 3/16, so we can take a pretty sizable hailstone and not
Oh
burn
yeah,
anything.
that's a big thing here.
Oh yeah, and I remember living in Dallas that we see baseball, softball sized hail once in a while.
Yep.
I remember the dealerships always having their annual hail sale of cars that
Oh,
were
I
just
know.
golf.
Hey, I know somebody, they got a hell of a deal on a Cadillac because it had a
Right.
couple of dents, but like, it's a thing here.
Oh yeah. And so you clean the glass off, with your normal scheduled maintenance visits, whether that's quarterly, every other month, whatever it is. Um, but beyond that, it's kind of self-contained and self-sufficient, and so it's pulling power off of the air conditioner itself, 24 volts, and that's all it really needs. And so the collector itself
Oh,
is pretty simple to keep maintained. The electronics, the electronics it has a little board in the motor, it's an actuator to turn the mirrors. If those have an issue, they're pretty easy to replace. It takes about 30, 45 minutes to replace those. And so maintenance is pretty easy. We try to make it, again, simple and not too involved.
did I hear that you guys were working with Viper on anything as far as like a cleaner, or is that not
Yeah.
in?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
It is.
so yeah, they're coming up with their own kind of glass cleaner sort of stuff for us, as well as regular traditional solar electric, because those are a bunch of glass panels as well.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and with the Viper side, we're making uh, a big push to make sure they use their kind of cleaners on our coils, the non-corrosive kind of chemicals and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah.
More push for. I know a couple of brands are doing that, so that's kind of our push. Is like, look, you want the stuff to last longer? Please don't use the old crazy stuff. Use
That's a whole. I've been trying to push that because I still see people using like the
yeah,
harsh. I tell people, like, any brand, if you use the blue one, you're using the wrong one. Like, that is basically eating your coils, and
yeah,
I can tell you most people are probably not rinsing it as much as it needs to be either, because they're just
yeah.
like,
And it just sits there and it just sizzles away.
I've known people that did solar, like regular solar panels, and those have to be cleaned a certain way. Um, like I'm just that's why I was asking, because like sometimes it has to be like a certain product or a certain thing. But you guys, maybe a Viper product would be coming out at some point, and that'd be kind of cool.
And even with that, we're one of the nice ups on ours, because we're solar thermal, we're not as dependent on direct sunlight. And so, like solar electric panels, when they get like dusty, their efficacy
Yeah.
starts dropping off quickly. Like, I mean, it's a major impact on how well they produce energy. Uh, Ours isn't as dependent on that. We also pick up a lot of UVA, UVB rays, and so even when it's cloudy, like we'll still be doing our thing where solar electric starts to struggle.
Oh.
So the cleanliness of ours is not as critical as solar electric.
Okay.
That's why with ours, you just wrap it in your normal visits. You're coming out even quarterly, that's fine, or even biannually, that'll work. At a certain point, it will have a negative effect, but it's not as drastic as it is for solar electric.
Are you guys on the AC system? Are you guys tube and fin like regular copper, or is it microchannel?
Tube and fin.
Okay, I have a preference on tube and fin.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
it works.
Yes, and it's easier to work on if there's a leak. You can actually patch it, whereas in a microchannel, you're kind of hosed. You can probably isolate that one string, but then it's just causes more problem.
Yeah, you got to bypass that part or something. And
Yeah,
it's funny because I've actually heard this several times now. We had a so I went out to like a long distance. It was like 5 hours away to go check out an AC system at this restaurant that we do business here, but they asked us to go out there. And they were like, our guys, they want you to replace the compressor. The compressor's bad. It won't, like, I don't know, it won't cool. And I get out there and there's a big gash in the micro channel. So we have hail guards, right? Everybody does hail guards here, and you can tell that they were like trying to take it off or whatever, and they dropped it, and it just
oh,
left this huge gash across the micro channel. I'm like, your micro channel's done. I was like, the whole thing is leaking. Like, you got to get a new coil. Versus, like you were saying, like I've worked on older systems where you have I mean, for one, it wouldn't gouge copper that easily as
it's
aluminum, but I've had leaks and I'm like, oh, okay, just patch it. And I just did that recently. Like when it's copper, I can just patch it and be done with it. You don't lose efficiency really or anything like that, like on a micro channel. So I know everybody's not too happy with certain companies going completely micro channel.
yeah. We looked at that just kind of see what's possible for the numbers we're trying to hit because we're pushing for high EER on the base unit, uh, and so it's just no, what we're doing and how it all came about for all the things again, right? Serviceability,
Yeah.
longevity, and everything else. We were like, yeah, the tube and fin gave us what we're looking for, so we stuck with
And
the
it's
OG.
easier to get even if you need to replace a coil, because I had another one that a dealer manufacturer, because even someone came down. I think Ben tried to get me in touch with one of the main guys for this certain manufacturer, and they're like, yeah, we'll get it. And I was basically told no, like we can't get you that coil. I was like, what the hell am I supposed to tell my customer? So I had to tell them to go find somebody else to do it for them, and
Dang.
it was because it was microchannel. Like I couldn't patch it because it was like a pretty bad leak.
Yeah,
And sure enough, they finally somebody did it, but it was months later. I'm sure they waited to get it.
that's
And
wild.
yeah, and that's the stuff that we deal with, right? So again, repairability. What can you get? What can you fix? That's always a big thing. And even on those, because another thing I have to train my guys is like micro channels look clean 90% of the time. Like you can't tell. If you can tell that it's dirty by looking at it, it is
Real dirty.
way past, like, yeah, way past service. Like it's packed. So I always tell them just rinse it out. And sure enough, every time we rinse it out is like it holds so much crap in there. And
Oh
I
yeah,
get it that they're efficient, you can do more with it, but they require way more service.
us being new, we're like, what woes do we want to make sure we potholes we steer wide of? Like, well, this would be
Yeah.
a good option. Well, what are the pros and cons? Well, here are the cons. We're like, can we survive that? Right? Is that something that Again, we got our first launch out, and the guys walk out there, hey, and they start servicing our units. They go, you know what? This sucks. I don't like this and this. Right? Then we're a one hit wonder, and it's over. We're like, okay, so what's the tried and true? What's the good hardy stuff that makes everything work, easy to work on, all those things?
uh,
Because we got out of the gate, we kind of have one shot at this to make sure we
yeah.
hit it like we're supposed to.
Yeah. And it's different, right? You don't want to make it hard to sell or hard to, you know, work
Exactly.
on, convince
Mm-hmm.
somebody. So that's the right approach to go to is what works. That's it's
Yeah.
simple as that.
Like even the valves we put in on the corner of the unit to tie in the thermal collector because it's refrigeration piped in.
Yeah,
We made those valves make sure they're straight piped so you can do compression fittings like RLS, right? So you can do it so you don't have to worry about brazing in on a package unit. Which after over the years I've talked to a lot of guys where for commercially they're going to set up package unit. Those guys don't know how to braze because they don't have to. So if I'm going to
yeah,
do like ours, where it's got a package unit and this thermal collector, you have to attach. And back in the day, you had to cut it and braze it in because I have to send two different teams. I have to set in my package unit set team, and then a second team behind them to do all the brazing and integration of the thermal collector. So it costs twice as much for the install. I'm like, dang, okay. So how do we make sure we keep it in the bucket of the RTU team? And so with this, they can have a guy go in there with compression fittings and just, connect all the piping and make it part of that job as opposed to a second touch.
Yeah, if I could use my press fitting into more areas, I would. But it's always like, how did the manufacturer, like, what did they leave your room with to do, right? So that's always a big factor. But I've been a big RLS guy, or just, press fitting person, because it
Mm-hmm.
just makes my job easier. I don't have to worry about brazing and leak check. Well, you still leak check, but like you don't have to worry about it, because sometimes you're like upside. If you're brazing, you're like upside down in these weird, awkward positions, and you're like, did I get it? Did I not?
Mm-hmm.
So
If you do multiple units in one day, right, the last unit will not be as good as the first unit, especially when it's dead of
no,
summer, right? It's just
and
that
there's
craft.
been there's been times that I've been confident, or maybe too confident, and then it springs a leak. I'm like, really?
Yeah,
Yeah, you have those days. It's always the
yeah,
end of the day, the last call, stuff like that.
yeah. So that's why we put our access for those valves on the corner of the unit. We can like flatten it in, so that way you can put your jaws, whatever tool you have, no matter what size it is, has room to slide in there and push the compression fittings on at the corner. So yeah, we sat with the team for like a day or two with different jaws, make sure does this fit in here. We have the
Yeah,
different Milwaukee or the DeWalt or whatever the other brands are that have the ass end of that battery is really big. It shouldn't matter. We were going to do it in the front, but then you can't have full access with the jaws or getting it inside. And so yeah, we've really tried to do our best to make it. We try it ourselves before
no,
they say
that's
it worked in
that's
the
good.
lab. Sure, it'll do this. They go, oh, we didn't think about X, Y, Z. We manufacture down in South America in Colombia, where they're
Oh,
making the.
that's what it was. I think I saw something in it. That's what it looked like.
Yep. Yeah. So our RTs are made, or our systems are made down there as well as the thermal collectors, and when we travel all over here too for all the different jobs. But
Are these systems out right now, like on any buildings, um, like actively working?
yes, we have one in Oklahoma City. That's where our director of field engineering lives, and then actually in the next week or two, we're putting one a 5-ton in here. And actually,
Okay.
HVAC SG Gabriel, he's gonna put that in.
Yeah. Oh, nice. I
Yeah,
can't wait to see that put in.
yeah, yeah. So we'll put in a 5-ton in here in the next like weekish.
Okay, cool. Because it'd be cool to see those like in action. Because
Yeah,
I've been following along, kind of seeing them, being built, the changes you guys have made, and it was very intriguing to me. But I haven't like seen, or maybe I missed it. I haven't seen it like actually working, or like on a building. That's what I'm kind of like. That's
yeah.
kind of what I want to see.
Hmm. Yeah, that'll be the fun part. So yeah, by within the next 2 weeks, so that 5-ton here will be up and running. So we'll have that, and I'll start sharing the dashboard and start showing here's what it's actually doing,
Oh yeah,
efficiency,
man,
the
you
fit.
you got to show everything, because that's a cool. It's just cool to hear about, and I can't wait to kind of see that.
Yeah, it's gonna be good
Um,
stuff.
we've been here over an hour. I don't want to keep you too long. It's been a great conversation, kind of learning what you guys have been doing, the transition, all that kind of stuff. Renewable cooling is not something that I thought I'd be talking about, right now, but it's awesome. So, anything
Thanks, man.
else you kind of want to close on?
Uh, yeah, they'll be coming out this fall. We're going to certification at Intertech next month, beginning of July, and so we'll be ready to release these bad boys out probably August, September, and we're here to make a splash, man. We want to change the way people cool and kind of see that there's a different way as opposed to just your traditional options. And so that's our big mantra: is that you have a lot of choices, for different brands and different approaches. You have very few options when it comes, especially comes 5-10 ton package kind of split systems commercially. There's not much you can pick there, and so we're really trying to give a better option for people out there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is that August this year?
Yeah.
Oh, so you guys are ready to roll.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Um, so what is it about HVAC that you like? Like, why are you in this trade? What I don't know. What kind of pushes you through?
I really like it because it's kind of the trade of the trades. because you guys have to know everything, right? You know a little bit about electrical and
Well, I
plumbing.
mean, you too as a manufacturer.
Yeah, yeah. And so, but it's never going away. Right? You always have to condition a space, whatever that means, whether it's heating, cooling, even just ventilation. And so, for me, it's a big space, and it didn't have a whole lot of change. And so, when I saw that there was a big gap of what's possible and what's we could push here, I was like, this is really cool. Uh, and the community known to, or I've gotten to know, has been great. And so, I really like that there's room here to do some cool stuff, and that's what really drives me.
That's awesome, and that's why I've been so intrigued by seeing what you guys have been doing. Just being innovative, new, unique. I hope it goes well, man. I'm really excited to see what comes out of this.
I appreciate
Maybe
it, man.
we'll
Yeah,
see like renewable cooling as a thing, after this.
yeah, we're trying to push it, man. Especially out here in the Southwest, where we have a lot of heat, especially California, and the cost of power they have. We should have a nice impact because they're desperate for a better solution.
I I was gonna say like around here because I'm in Texas, right? Same thing, a lot of heat, a lot of sun, and electric bills are like crazy. Like
Yeah,
I've had a couple of houses, and it's always like up and down, and then just you just see the little trend go way up, and it's like, oh, are we ever coming back down? But like it's a thing, man. So in a lot of states, and like you said, yours works by the heat. It's a collector. It's not a solar panel. A lot of states can take advantage of it because that heat is always there. Like you said, you take advantage of different rays and all that. It's not just direct sunlight. It's cool, like how it works, how it kind of knows when to use it, when not to use it. Like you said, a lot of technology. I get excited for that kind of stuff, but a lot of places can take advantage of it because my God, like the electric bills have been ridiculous to run your AC and whatever else you got going on. So cool stuff. Appreciate you for coming on again, taking the time, man. And thanks again.
well, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Everybody watching and listening, appreciate you guys for watching and tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.